Alrighty, folks, we are back with another teardown video for the Psycho motor. This is our 4.3 that is eventually going to be turboed, and we're looking to crank out over 300 anyway. But I'm hoping that we go for 4. I want to just tear the Chevette in half.
We're shooting for the roadkill Rodson type build. Only we want this one to live.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Don't tell that to Freibarger.
Well, they don't care.
Right.
They like it when stuff breaks. We hate it because we got to pay for it.
I'd really like to get my hands on Blasphemy.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to do a Blasphemy mod on that gasser right there.
So
anyway, what are we doing here, John? Yeah.
Well, first thing we're going to do is pop the lifters out to see how many of them we can reuse, which the answer is none of them because we're going to upgrade the camshafts. That means you have to put new rockers in. Lifters.
Those things?
Yeah, those things. If you guys have ever seen Pole Barn Garage on YouTube, he's the guy who did the Holy Goat and the Road Runner and him and his son.
Runner.
Yeah, they're great. But this is going to be along the lines of that. He calls himself the Budget Channel, and well, buddy, challenge accepted. Because I want to make this as cheap as possible. Like I said, I want it to live, but the cheapest turbo, cheapest parts. You've heard me say that only 1,000 times, so I'm going to move on. But we're going to pull the lifters out. I forgot a crankshaft puller because I'm stupid apparently. But we're going to attempt to get this pulley off somehow, some way. We don't care about this cover because that's plastic.
It's plastic.
Yeah, so we don't care about these. Now we're going to get a metal one.
Smash that son of a bitch off.
Well, yeah, I mean, by the time you take them off, you cannot reuse those.
Right. Because
they warp. So we don't care about breaking this, whatever. If we can get that out, we're going to attempt to get the camshaft out. And after that, we're going to pop the pan out and pan off, the oil pan that is, and start to take our rod caps off so we can get some pistons out and take a look at our rings. But of course, with running boost, you have to open up the gap on your piston rings or else you get the, hey, my fingers are there, buddy.
Right. Well, it was going down anyway, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was just,
surprise.
Yeah. But, insert Samuel L. Jackson line here.
Right.
But, anyways, as some of you may know, and if you don't know, now you know, if you run boost on a motor, you have to, I repeat, have to gap the rings. If memory serves, on a 350, which essentially this is just a shortened 5.7 liter 350, I believe you have to open them up by I think you have to run 22 thousandths on the compression ring, 19 thousandths.
Something that we could look up and
make certain. Absolutely. Okay. But if you don't, what happens is under heat, which boost creates more heat. That's why it creates more power. It shoves more. It force feeds more fuel and air into the combustion chamber, which makes more heat, which makes more power. The rings will literally expand because, heat. They expand, but together they lift up because they don't have any room to go this way, so they start to lift up. And eventually it pops top the pistons off, and things get really mad and angry, and
suddenly it grenades the motor.
It creates a window to its soul somewhere around this area.
Yeah, somewhere right here.
Maybe down here, in the old boss's office down there. But we're going to start tearing this guy down, see what we have to work with so far. If you recall the previous videos, if you haven't seen them, go see them. It's almost winter time. You have almost nothing else to do. So go watch some YouTube videos. But anyways, if you remember in the previous videos, we took the cylinder heads, and inspected our cylinders. And as of right now, everything we're saying, this was supposed to be, and I say supposed to be because, everybody has a brand new motor. They just rebuilt it. They lost the receipts. They're probably at their mom's house or something. But this was supposed to be a sub 100,000 mile motor. It was supposedly a reman unit. So everything we're seeing so far, it looks like that. The valley in here is super clean, no sludge. It looks like it was taken care of. So if you look down inside the bores here, if I crank that guy down, if you look down inside the cylinder bores, you can still see some cross hatching, which tells us that it's not worn out.
Actually, I got that on camera.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice work.
How about that?
Good work, Vic. So if we can confirm that, the next thing we need to do after today, and again, didn't bring this with me. I've been a carpenter today. I've been replacing floors in my house before this, so I kind of threw this together last minute. But anyways, we need to get something called a bore gauge, so we can go inside here. If this does look like it's a reman, we need to measure these bores and make sure it's not been bored over. If it has, then great. That just makes it a little stouter. I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. But we can do that, and we can also, another way we'll know for sure, so we can look at the part numbers and the pistons and the connecting rod bearings and crankshaft main bearings when we get them off. It ought to tell us if they're standard, then it's probably not been reman. But if they look like they've been bored or turned or anything's oversized or undersized, we'll know. But anyways, I'm going to stop yakking because that's not what you all are here for. You're here to see me tear down a motor. So let's get it, dude.
Here we go.
These in order. These are called roller lifters. If you see the old rolly guy there, that's a roller lifter, and that saves power, and that makes the motor live longer because on a non-roller lifter, basically you have a flat surface, then you have a camshaft, and that flat surface is riding on the cam lobes all the time. So you have a flat surface, and as it rides, they kind of rotate around. And when they stop rotating, that means the camshaft lobes are flat, but I digress. But on these, from where they have that roller, you don't want that to turn sideways. If that turns sideways to start skating around on a lifter, on a cam lobe rather, you have bad things going on. You want it to be this way. So that's why we have to have these lifter guides. Now, we were going to go roller cam, roller lifters anyways, but what's really nice is we don't have to do any modifications now. We already have the bosses in here, and they're drilled. So these guys, where the rollers, not absolutely necessary to keep them where they're going to be at, where they came from, rather. So we're just going to pull these out, and they're cheap enough, we're going to replace them. You get them with a cam kit, we're just going to pull these guys out and send them off to their final resting place and kind of take a look at them as we take them out and see what everything looks like and proceed on with their teardown. Now, what you also may notice up here is this guy, this funny looking guy here. This is called a balance shaft. And the idea of that is it counters the counterweights on the crankshaft down here in the bottom, which is what the pistons connect to, which is basically the heart of the motor. And the idea is these counterweights are opposite of these down here. So as the motor's turning over and the crankshaft's running, this counterbalances that, hence the name balance shaft, and that makes the motor run smoother because it's got the counterweight in there. It's essentially like balancing a tire in your car. So that just makes things run better. So what we have to look at is, can we still run this with a high performance camshaft? I'm sure there's a way we can. We just have to see about using a factory cam gear with a an aftermarket high performance cam. But that's something we have to look into because I really want to use this. Because at high RPM, this is going to be our friend.
Okay, so there's an advantage to having this as opposed to a non.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So imagine if you just go and have a tire in your car, and they don't put any weights on it. They don't balance the tire.
You get wobble.
You get that vibration at high speeds. At low speeds, you're fine. You may have a little bit of a vibration. You get on the highway, and it's like shaking your teeth out of your head because there's no weights on it.
Suddenly, you're firing a 50 caliber machine gun.
Right.
Yeah.
This basically prevents that. Now, you shouldn't have any vibrations if the motor's balanced well, but one of the things that plagued the earlier 4.3 liters is the connecting rod bearings would wear out because of the vibration. And there's something called thrust bearings down here in the bottom end that's center. You didn't catch that burp in there.
No. If I did, I can edit the sound too.
All right, well, let's see if we can get this crank pulley off. And of course, I grabbed the wrong size socket, so everybody watch while
Yeah.
I spill everything out.
Hey, everybody needs to know that we're humans.
Well, those belong to my son, so that's reparations for all the times he spilled mine off, mine all over the place.
Throwing yours out in the driveway and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. All right, let's see. What you don't know is this gun has been on fire.
Cool.
Yeah, I spilled a bunch of ATF in it one day, and after that, I was putting trans in a car, and spilled a bunch of ATF in it and hosed it out with brake clean, and wasn't thinking, those brushes there make a little bit of sparks, and yeah, I gave her all the way, and it did not approve.
She gave back, huh?
Yeah, and how?
Wow.
Well, hey, little buddy, you still got it.
I think this one might have been taken better care of. How am I supposed to say that? Might
have been cared for better.
A little better. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. A little better than we expected.
Yeah.
I apologize. I do not know where my rubber mallet's at.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. If you look here, if you look down inside this crankshaft pulley, you see that rubber ring? That is yet another thing that will take out some of that vibration, some of those harmonics. Hence why this is literally called a harmonic balancer. So let's see. Let's invent something, shall we?
Oh, geez.
See if we can get in here with something. Walk this guy off. Like I said, they make a tool for this, and I happen to own it in my arsenal, but it ain't here. So we're going to try to improvise, adapt, and overcome.
There goes that. Yeah, that casing.
Plastic makes it possible.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen a crankshaft puller, they're one of the most rudimentary things ever.
Yeah, a little claw.
Oh no, this is just literally like a triangular piece of metal with a bolt in the middle of it. Forces this off, so I might be able to make something to fly. Hey, check that out. That's not factory. You see that glob of gray silicone in there? This right there.
I can see it.
Somebody has had this all apart before.
Which could explain why it's as easy as it is now.
Yeah, but that's going to suck because that kind of glues it on there. But somebody did that because when they had it off, when you have one of these harmonic balancers off of one of these 350s or 4.3 liters, that Woodruff key, there's a slot in there. It's called something called a Woodruff key that goes in that keyway that basically locks positively and mechanically locks the end of the crankshaft and this harmonic balancer together. They like to fall out. So one of the things we do is we'll put a little bit of gray RTV on those guys and glue them in there so that way they don't fall out. So that is proof positive. That ain't factory. They don't do those. They don't do that at the factory. That's proof positive, 110% that somebody's had this guy apart, at the very least, to serve as that timing cover. But I think, yeah, that's crusty. But underneath that crust, that is black, shiny paint. So I think this feller may be a little younger than what we think. I'm making a horrible mess of the shop floor.
No, I don't care. Hell, I got a broom. As long as you're not spraying it all over the Hot Wheels.
Don't hurt the inventory.
Right.
All right.
I have customs to do. What are we looking for, boss? Just something a little more stout?
Yeah, it's one of those I'll know when I see it type things. When the epiphany hits me. When this comes back, you're either going to see a harmonic balancer for a 4.3 liter GM motor off in our hands, or the next shot we have is going to be us, the emergency room, with our wives, our brides, very, very angry at us.
Yes.
Because we can't let you guys go anywhere by yourself.
No, every time we do, something blows up.
Yeah. Well, you know, we can't be left without parental supervision.
All right. Here we go, folks. Cross your fingers for
May
us.
the force be with us. Switch gears
here. Yeah, we're going to have to. We cannot get that crank pulley off, so we're going to move to the plate and start tearing down everything else that we can.
Yeah, so basically, without the proper tool, go figure, you have to have the proper tools to get the job done. We've tried everything, and it's just not happening right now. But we still have other avenues to pursue. We're going to, this cover is plastic. So if you read the service bullet, the service procedures on these, you can't reuse that cover. It warps. It's going to leak oil, and we want a pretty chrome one anyway. So what we're going to do for the time being is we're going to pull these bolts out here, all we can get to, and we're just going to caveman it and break that cover. It's pretty much broken already. So we're just going to pull that out of there. We can get the cam out. We get the pistons out. Can't really get the crank out, but I think we can get to where we want to be. We can get the timing chain down enough. We're going to at least try. So we've burnt. For you guys, it's been a mere seconds. For us, it's been 2 hours of frustration. So we're just going to move on and see if we can get out. But we'll be back in a minute. All right, this is our first indicator that this motor was, in fact, not remanufactured. It's just in really good shape and low mileage. If you see there on that and timing cover, that says a GM on it. If that was reman or rebuilt, they wouldn't use a GM part number. And this chain, well, she's
loose.
Well, she's what we like to call at the end of her serviceable life. So this is definitely not. We weren't going to reuse this anyways, but this is a one indication. This motor is not has not been rebuilt, and it's just in really good shape. Which still, it's in really good shape, and we're very thankful for that. But this suggests that not remanned, but just well maintained. This is that pulley that I was telling you about for the balance shaft up here in the top. If you look, once we get this apart a little bit more, you'll be able to see it. But this is a chain that runs this pulley, and behind there's a drive gear, and then there's a driven gear. This driven gear connects to that balance shaft there, and yeah, older 350s, 43s don't have that, and I'm not sure if the V8s have that, but V6s, they don't balance quite as well as VAs do. But what we're going to do is we're now going to pull these 3 bolts out and see if we can get this timing chain, this camshaft sprocket off just enough to get that timing chain out and get back into our cam. I think we're going to be fine because, well, she's a little sloppy. So I think we'll have plenty of room to do what we're trying to do. So hang tight. We're going to pull this thing out. We'll be right back with you. So this that we're removing right now is the cam retainer plate. That, if you look, that wants to walk out of there. I've already got one bolt out, but without this, that cam can just walk right out and bad things happen. So it has to have a retainer plate here to keep it from moving. Even more so because it's a hydraulic roller lifter. It's a hydraulic roller cam is what I was trying to say. If that cam starts to walk around, bad things happen. So we'll get this out and let's just see what it looks like momentarily. Be right back.
What's up?
This one came out smoother.
So here's and camshaft. This thing's in remarkably good shape. The only thing that I found so far on this motor that has any wear at all is the timing chain. That's expected. I mean, that's very expected. But um, the bearing journals here, the journals where the bearings ride, very clean, no scarring. These cam lobes are still very nice and round.
Now, is this something that we're going to reuse on the motor when we put it into the Psycho?
I would like not to.
No, new cam.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. This cam is ground in a way. It's got a profile, as if you will, in a way that it's made to be fuel efficient and energy or environmentally friendly. We'll say low emissions. That's the one. Um,
So
but
we're looking for something with a little more aggression.
yeah, I mean, if we're running boost, um, we really want something a little more lift, a little more duration, a little bit more lobe separation.
Okay.
So that gives us a little more power, lets those valves stay open a little bit longer, so that way you can take advantage of that boost. Um, you have something called lift, and that's the height of this lobe. You have something called duration, which is the width of the lobe. So lift is how far it opens the valve, duration is how long it keeps it open, and lobe separation is how far apart the intake and exhaust lobes for that particular cylinder are. Um, you want something, there's something called lobe separation, and there's a degree like most. Now I'm pulling this out of my butt here, but if memory serves, most stock camshafts are, say, 115 degrees. High performance stuff is like 113, 110 degrees. You want them to be close together because you want scavenging. You want it to scavenge back and forth. So you want it to pull just a little bit of cool air into the exhaust, and as that intake opens, you want it to scavenge just a little bit. It's mainly so that way you scavenge a little bit in the exhaust and kind of speed that stuff out of there.
Hmm.
It's been a long time since I've been in engine performance class, but I think that's what it means. But your high, like your funny cars and dragsters, they have like 108, 110 degrees lobe separation. That's where you get that choppy, um, excuse me, that's where you get that really choppy idle and that sound, that classic lumpy cam sound. But on a stock motor, if you have that kind of lift and duration, and more importantly, the lobe separation, you start to lose vacuum
Hmm.
because a vacuum is formed by it creates vacuum down here as the pistons are drawing on the intake side. That creates vacuum when those valves stay open that long. You don't build any vacuum, so you don't have power brakes. You don't have reference for things like on older vehicles. You didn't have reference for your vacuum secondaries on your carburetor or your vacuum advanced on your distributor. So really, for an everyday driver, you need a very conservative cam. We don't want an everyday driver. This is a fun car. This is a track day car. We do want power brakes, but if we don't have power brakes, we can get away with manual brakes. We still want to be able to stop. There's other avenues we could pursue, smaller boosters, things like that. This cam for an everyday driver would be perfect. I mean, you could clean this thing up, throw it in something, slam it in with the lifters, and lube it up real good, and you're good to go. But for what we're doing, this is just not going to work. It's not going to be aggressive enough. We want something a little bit more aggressive. So this, unfortunately, is going to go in the do not save pile. Just as a preference, or just as a preface, if we were to have cleaned this motor up and obviously put a timing chain in it, which I would have resealed all this stuff anyways, especially before shoehorning it into a Chevette. If we were to have put this thing in here just in factory stock format, we could have still had buckets of fun. I mean, we're putting a motor that makes
210, I think it was stock.
Yeah, I mean that's 210 crank. So once you get it to the wheels,
170, 180.
Yeah, but still, it's a car that came with like 58 horsepower.
Yeah.
That weighs as much as a refrigerator, basically. You're still going to have buckets of fun, but we're going to the extreme. This is kind of, I got my Mustang done, and me and Vic were looking around and thinking, what can we do now? And me and my two boys and my daughter too, we like to tinker and build stuff, and I like to teach them to build stuff. don't always have to buy what you get. You can build cool stuff. It's all right to work with your hands. But we were looking around and what do we do? And the psycho fell upon us, and we said, "Go big or go home" on this one.
There it is.
So, but anyways, we're gonna roll this motor over now and make a mess because when you tip the motor on its head, you find all the oil you thought you had drained out of it and all the antifreeze. So we're gonna make a mess of the shop floor and pull the oil pan out and off rather, and start to punch some pistons out and see what our rings look like, and then we'll have this motor down to the point we can start. Well, obviously we gotta get this guy off of there. We can start cleaning up and measuring, and we'll definitively be able to order parts in as far as rebuildable parts, bearings, rings. We can know where we're at on those tolerances. Coming up in the next few videos, just to let you know, I'm going to show you how to plastic gauge your bearings once you get them together, and that's the process of torquing the bearing down and putting some material in there with a scale, and it shows you how far it squishes out. But we'll plastic gauge your bearings. We'll measure our rods, make sure our rods within specs. So hopefully our guys over at CRC are going to be available soon that we can get in there, and hopefully once we get these heads over to them and the block, if we have to take the block to them, maybe they'll be cool enough to let us get back there and show you some of these processes.
Yeah,
so
that would be really neat to have an in repair shop video. That'd be cool.
Yeah, like line hunting or boring or resizing rods if we have to get into that. I got a pretty good rapport with those guys. Professionally, I use them in the shop that I work in. I use them quite a bit for typical shop needs, pressing and milling heads and things like that. So I think I give them enough business. I can.
Right, you'd be comfortable asking them.
Oh yeah. So, which professionally I've been back there before.
Yeah.
I just don't know how they feel about a camera. People get all weird when there's a camera out. But
right.
All right, I'm going to stop rambling. It's getting late in the evening, so John's getting a little bit chatty. So.
All right, so flipping the motor, and we'll be back with you in just a minute.
Yep.
Kind of excited myself about getting that oil pan redone. That's something I can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little bit of vapor rust and all that good jazz.
Actually, as far as the anti-rust stuff is concerned, I use the Rust-Oleum gel.
Oh, does that work pretty
well? Oh man, that stuff works great.
Hey, Rust-Oleum.
That is not an advertisement. I'm not getting paid for that.
But if they want to pay us.
But yeah, I'm not going to argue.
I mean, if Rust-Oleum wants to pay us for their free advertising.
Hell yeah.
Well,
I'll take some free advertising money. Oh, that's goober down there pretty good.
Yeah, we'll scrape it off. There we go. I tell you, these DeWalt guns, again, not a paid advertisement, but it should be because I damn near own stock in those things. But these DeWalt guns, these 20-volt DeWalt guns, 20-volt maxes, man, they just
rock.
They impress the hell out of me. All right.
How are those?
These are our main caps, crankshaft main caps, and these are the bearings. These are what the crankshaft rolls in all the time. So these have very minor scoring on the journals. That bearing.
Every time you move to something, I move to something different.
This
paper towel is sitting over there on the rack.
Man, let me just see if I can wipe this out of the way here. We're not reusing these bearings. Just no way, no how. We're not coming this far than doing that. But this, what you want to look for is These things have brass underneath them. You want to look for the brass coming out of them? Yeah, I'm going to have a paper towel.
Right there behind you, your 4 o'clock. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You're 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, in that area. I knew what I was saying. It's supposed to be psychic, man.
In some way, I kind of did too. Dad sound effects there.
Mm.
These bearings, they're not bad. Not bad at all, but if you see right there, right through there, there is
scoring.
Yeah, it's not scoring as much as it's just wear. So yeah, it'll need a set of bearings, but let's check this. Let's see what we say here. I'm assuming that there's 204 H.
Trying to give you some light while you read there.
Yeah. GM 45. So yeah, these are all standard. This motor's not been gone through yet. This is our confirmation this motor's never been cracked apart. But as far as a builder, again, I'm going to say it that if you had an old truck or something, like my old Silverado that has this exact same motor in it, if you had a truck and you just needed a motor to get you by,
this one would have worked out of the box, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you could have got a few thousand out of this. Main caps, very important. They are basically, when they make main caps, they make rod caps. You'll see it better on rod caps. The way they do this is they don't form the rod caps separate from the block, or the main caps rather in this case. They form these.
Trying to follow you, you keep moving.
Sorry. They make these. They make this all in one piece. They cast it in one piece, and they come through and they literally chop these in half. Same the rod bearings. They break those, but I'll show you more in a minute. So these are individual. You have to, absolutely have to put these back where they came from, or else this motor will not turn. Also, you'll look right there. There's an arrow that shows you forward. There again,
the front of the engine, right?
Yes, that has to face forward. Again, because of the way these things are made, they're made to fit it together in a certain way. There's a tab there, that tang. That is your lock. That's your tang that kind of locks that bearing in.
My focus didn't catch it. Give me just a second. There you go.
So this here is that tang that I was just telling you about. That keeps that bearing from spinning inside of there. You always put tang to tang, lock to lock on these bearings. If you have them out, they can spin. If you have them together, one won't let one turn the other way, and the other one will let the other one turn the other way. If that makes any sense to you in your head, then there you go.
You know, my head is on fire now.
So that is not torque to spec, but it's coming back apart. We're just keeping things in order. So let me find the appropriate size socket, which is not that guy. We'll start to get the caps off here.
We're not just going to let the cap or the pistons fall out, right?
No, they won't fall out. There's enough drag on the rings. If these things are any good at all, there's enough drag on the rings. They won't just fall out. Okay. Apparently your dog didn't like that.
I know. Earl, shut up.
Earl.
Well, Robert the 17th Earl of Bruce. That's what we named him after.
I once had a coonhound named Hank. True story.
Great story, man. Like the mechanic from Pearl Harbor. I got girlfriend. Is that it? Is that all you got to say?
True story.
You know that guy played Zod in the Superman movie?
Yeah.
Same dude.
Well, you know something. Mrs. Johnny B and I, the first movie we saw together was Pearl Harbor.
Really?
That's one of our favorites.
Oh, well, that's there's. What am I trying to say here? I understand why you have a connection to it because it was your first date kind of thing, but that movie is terrible.
It is.
The best part of that movie was when they bombed Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Or attacked it, really. You know what I mean?
Okay. Here, you can see really, really clearly what I was talking about before on that.
If you can aim whatever you're looking at the light, that'll catch it.
Right there?
Yeah, perfect.
So if you look right here, those marks there, that's where I was telling you about. They literally make these connecting rods and they lop the cap off of them. So these caps have to stay with their mated connecting rod in order for the size to be right. If you swap caps, torque them to specs, either you're going to have really, really loose tolerances or you're going to have a motor that won't spin. These are literally like fingerprints. Every one is different. So we're going to pull a couple. We're going to pull one piston out at a time so that way we don't mix them up. We have to invent a way to mark them. But this bearing, same thing. Wasn't rod knocking at all. No rattle. Main bearing on the main bearings. I would predict that this motor had very good oil pressure. I see a little bit of wear right here. Not quite through to the brass backing, but enough that it probably had. This is probably a 100,000 mile motor. So,
I mean, going back to zero.
It's going back to, we're hitting the reset button on him. But, I mean, still a very good core. You could have ran that. This motor probably has a good 30, 40,000 miles on it still yet. That we could have put it back together the way it was. Just put it in the way it was and made some smoke and some noise. But we didn't do bad on this for the money. This wasn't a bad deal at all.
$150, man. That was a steal.
That was the deal of the day there. So, all right, let's pop this piston out. Just gonna push it straight out the bottom.
You got that?
I got this.
Because I can't do it with one hand.
Yeah, I gotcha. I'll drop that cap somewhere. I'm sure it'll show its face in enough.
Oh, I see a piston.
I see a rod cap in a very bad place. That's bad. That's real bad. Yeah, let's cut video for a second.
Okay, honey, go ahead. You're recording.
This is our piston out of the number one cylinder. Here are our piston rings. So you have your compression rings, oil control ring. Again, the shape this motor's in, that ring stuck just a little bit. That could have been for where we shoved it out of its home. Not a big deal. I mean, these rings, and they look real good. Still have lots of spring tension. They're not super loose. Piston's in great shape. I mean, it's clearly it's a 4.3, so it's run a little bit dirty. But they always do. They run fat. It means they run a little bit rich. They run on the rich side. But man, this thing, there again, you could have done some light refresh on this and thrown it back in the car and taken off to bingo and been in good shape. When we scored on this one. Here in a minute, we get the rest of these out. I mean, we're just going to rinse and repeat on the rest of these. I mean, you're not missing a whole lot. We'll do the whole fast forward thing, get into these pistons. We're going to stack them up and get them ready to go in the parts washer here real soon. But we're just going to rotate them out, take these out one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, or wherever they're at.
They're over there.
So once we get these out, we'll roll the block back over so we can inspect our bores and see what they look like. But I'm telling you, I'm
relatively impressed so far.
I'm very pleased with this. I know we looked at some other ones and LKQ and pick apart and things like that, but I'm glad we went this route. I mean, this was in Papaw's truck or something.
Yeah. This was a Sunday special here.
I can tell you though, 4.3. My Silverado has the exact same motor in it. I can tell you that my motor in my Silverado doesn't look this good, but my motor in my Silverado also has 250,000 miles on it too. So, and it's tired. So I can tell you that this motor was, what we should have done? I should have put this in my truck and rebuilt the one out of my.
Oh, now you remember threatening me when I mentioned that I wanted to take the motor out of your truck?
I would have never done anything like that. Dude. That doesn't sound like something I would do at all. Erroneous. This is erroneous.
I believe there's the word castration came out.
I would have never said something. I was scanning the archive. That's not something I would have said. I just. Anyways.
No, continue with your thought. If you'd have thought about it.
Oh, we probably would have put this in my truck and rebuilt the one out of my truck, because here's the thing: the one out of the old Silverado, she's due for. It uses some oil. The compression's getting kind of low on it. It would have been a good candidate for a 30 over bore.
It's about time anyway, right?
It's tired. Luke's getting tired. That's his name, is Luke, by the way. Every good truck needs a name, and that's Cool Hand Luke. And it's been, man, that has been the best truck. I love that thing. But it's getting tired. $250 on a 4.3 in a full size truck. That's
not bad.
And it goes to work and back every morning, going down I-75 at 80 miles an hour. So
No. You don't speed. You don't break the law on video.
they don't know my real name. I'm merely a voice on a camera.
Okay, I'm gonna have to blur out the one time I got your face on here.
It's okay. If they want to get me for, that's the best they have time to do is get
Right,
me for
yeah.
doing 80 and a 65. Then clearly we live in a better world than I thought.
Right.
So, but,
all right. So lather, rinse, repeat on the other 6, and we'll meet up with you guys over here
when we get to this. And now, just to let you guys know, until we get this really nice crankshaft harmonic balancer off of here, we can't take the crankshaft out. And honestly, until we're ready to take this to CRC, there's no need to. We know that we need to put bearings in it. We know the tolerances are good. I mean, honestly, this crankshaft's in good enough shape from what I've seen so far. We can just do a bearing roll into it. We don't need to have this crankshaft cleaned up or anything. We can do this here.
With what additional? I'm sorry, I'm trying to speak for the voice of the folks watching the video.
Yeah,
with the additional horsepower that we're going to be putting through this motor, we don't need to bump up the crank.
No, it's fine. We're not going to get that radical. The big thing is right here we got to open up. These are your ring gaps that I was talking about earlier. These are your piston rings. You got to gap these a little bit more because what happens is, I don't know if I can squeeze this tight enough, probably. But what happens is when these things are compressing the board, they're probably about that close together.
Okay.
And you don't want a big gap in here. If you have a big gap in here, that's a compression leak. That's a loss of power, and burning oil. This one may be a better example. It's a little freer in here, but something like that. What happens under boost, because pressure and heat makes things expand, especially on metal things.
Mm-hmm.
They'll grow together. They'll butt up against each other. And when they can't go this way anymore, they lift this way. When they lift this way, they break pieces of pistons off. And then it's just a domino effect at that point. If you get a chip out of it, it's flying around in there at, 5,500 RPM.
It's only going to be a matter of time before it catches the corner and smashes.
It's exactly what it does. That has nowhere to go. It starts to move up and down. It keeps cavitating away until it pops. It's like a biscuit can. It just pops the head of this thing off. And then your rod just starts to fly around in there. It saws a block in two, and everybody starts to cry. It has a bad day. And, when it starts to ventilate the block, putting windows and cylinder blocks, that's when bad things happen. So, anyways, we have to gap these rings, and we'll look up. There's somewhere on the old interwebs. There's a chart that tells you how to gap your rings, and if you're running boost or nitrous. We're only going to do one or the other because I want to live and I want the motor to live too. But we gap these rings. These are cast. You have two types of lowers. You have cast, where they just pour the molten metal into a mold, and then they cast them that way. Then you have forge, where they put this stuff in the molten metal, and they squeeze it real tight. Forge is better because it's less porous. It'll take more power. In a perfect world, we'd have forge lowers, but to be honest with you, I don't think you can buy forge lowers for a 4.3 liter. So I'm going to do some research on that. But I think for running 10, 12 pounds of boost,
we want to keep on the lower end of the boost. We're looking for enough power to have some fun and not enough power to blow ourselves to pieces.
Well, the fact of the matter is, for what this is going in, we don't need that much boost to have a hell of a good time.
Right.
I mean, honestly, like I said, we could put a mild cam in this, clean the heads up a little bit, throw a 500 CFM 4-barrel on top of it, something like that. That might even be a little bit much, but we could put a small 4-barrel on top of it. We can clean things up, a set of shorty headers, and we could have a heap of fun. But boost, just you put the old sushi slicer on there, it makes it that much more fun.
Right.
So, like
just
I said,
enough to embarrass a Mustang is all I care about. Not your Mustang, just a Mustang.
Notice the dramatic pause there when I said, I don't know.
That might be a good fight though. That big old 302 versus the this?
Well, what you don't know is the 5 liter in the Mustang. Once I get the old state inspection done on it, so I can get the clean title after the accident it was in, um, it's probably going to get some speed parts on it too. I've just decided I've really babied that car when it first got done, and I still couldn't keep it from getting totaled. So when it goes back on the road this time,
You're gonna have some fun.
yeah, it's balls to the wall at this point. If it got wrecked already, I ain't babying it anymore. So I already told my wife update the life insurance policy, and it ain't gonna be that crazy, but it is gonna. I am um, definitely gonna quarter mile at a time or two. I mean, just to probably bracket race it or something, and if I can get some nice stuff on there as far as suspension, like some QA1s or something to make it corner a little bit better. I'll probably consider autocrossing it, but I gotta save up some coin. I just um, the eldest offspring just went into college. Got another one that's in high school. And
You guys can't see this, but he's starting to tear up.
Oh no, I'm not starting to tear up. It's the way. Yeah, it's funny.
This is the way.
Well, it's funny because the kids will ask me all the time, "Can you believe that I'm in high school already?" And I'll say yes, because that's how time works. But
Dad's a jerk.
Well, it's just like I don't know where the time went. No, I don't know where the time went. It went fast, but that's how time works. But anyways, I digress. I just got to tell you guys, I do apologize. Mr. Johnny B here is very, very tired. I've been doing some remodeling work on my house also, so I've been up since it's coming up on 11 o'clock. I've been up since 4:30 this morning, so
yeah,
I've become a chatty Cathy doll when
pretty
I get sleepy.
rough.
But anyways, yeah, what I'm saying is I don't have the extra coin right now to drop the money for QA1 stuff, but if I do, the Mustang is probably you're gonna see the Mustang on this channel. You've seen pictures of it and stuff, but you will see the Mustang, the crazy horse itself on the channel soon. I just have to get it presentable enough. It's got a Craigslist side, and then it's got the post accident side. It's back in one piece. We just got to get some paint on it, but with my work schedule and my son's college and work schedule and everything, it's just hard to coordinate time. And he's a guy who makes things pretty. I don't. I hit things with hammers until they act
Work,
right.
yeah, until they
yeah.
Impact calibration.
My hands look like this, and his look like paint. Just that don't get along with paint. But anyways, we will eventually have it back in one piece, and when we do, you will see it in a video coming up. And maybe, you never know, you may see a Psycho, and you may see the Psycho and the Goose line up.
Yeah, at maybe like Edgewater or something.
Killcare probably.
Killcare.
Yeah, they have. It's something 8th Mile, because here's what's going to get you with this and that. You're going to be faster, but you ain't going to make traction. And my car hooks.
I weigh 400 pounds, man. That car's going to grab some rubber.
The car weighs 400 pounds.
All right. Well, back to the matter at hand. Like Johnny.
That's Vic's way of saying shut the hell up and go back to work.
That's not it.
That's it.
I just don't know what I'm talking about anymore. So, like Johnny said, we're gonna copy and paste the pistons. I'm going to move this over to the storage area one at a time so that we know which one is which, and we'll be back with you as soon as we're ready to. Well, we'll be back with you over here.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right. Well, we're done with our tear down on our Psycho engine here, and everything still looks amazingly well for what we know now is not a reman or rebuild or anything engine. It's 100% factory. Me and Vic went back and forth on it. We've come to the decision that we are not going to pay CRC to hot tank this. Nothing against him. It's just everything's in really good shape. So, crank, all these journals here that we've seen, we've left the crank in it just to keep things from rusting and getting knocked over. We kept everything in here because there's nothing wrong with it. We want to keep it that way. We haven't pulled this crank pulley off yet because, well, Johnny B has kind of been slacking in that area, but we're going to save you. There's nothing glamorous about pulling a crank pulley off, about removing a harmonic balancer. So we're going to save you the woes of that. So we'll take care of that. But what's next is we're going to remove this crank and just wipe everything down real good, clean out the block, and start reassembly. We know Our bores are standard. We know our rod and main journals are standard. So standard piston rings, reuse the pistons we have, gap the rings, new bearing to the bottom end, a gasket kit. And then where the CRC is going to come into play is the port and polish on our cylinder heads. Um, and milling those and cleaning them up and everything we can't do in house. So, pressure testing, hot tanking, milling, and maybe some port work on the heads. But everything on this guy is great. So, in upcoming episodes, as weather permits, because we are coming into the frozen white death of hell that I like to call winter in Ohio, as as that permits, we're gonna show you how to do like a little homebrew um, cleanup because there's nothing that needs to be hot tanked out. If this thing had a bunch of sludge in it or metal shavings or whatever, I'd say we need to hot tank it, but it's all super good. So we're just going to pull it apart, gunk it, or something like that, pressure wash it off real good, and then do our hone work on the cylinders, which will definitely show you that. And then we are down to, we can reassemble right now as it sets. We can reassemble the bottom end of this motor. Probably get an oil pump. These things are super inexpensive, and it makes sense to go ahead and replace it. Um, Main bearings, rod bearings, piston rings, timing chain set, and a gasket kit. We can throw the bottom end of this back together for, save a bunch of money and not pay somebody to do the work that we can do ourselves. A couple $100, we can throw this back together. So, um, yeah, so we're going to go ahead and call this one an episode for right now. It's been for you guys, it's been but a few seconds. For us, it's been a week of work because work and life and things get in the way of projects we like to work on. But upcoming episodes, as time and funds permit, and weather obviously, we'll start to go through all this. And yeah, so we're well on our way. So we appreciate you guys sticking with us and coming and hanging out in the shop for a good time. And there'll be more good times to come. So for now, we love you guys. Be safe out there. Have fun. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.